Good afternoon. This is real informal, so you can talk today. My name is Pastor Paul. I'm the pastor of Pilgrim Church, and we welcome you to our sanctuary for this celebration of life of Bill Grove. Now notice that we call this a celebration of life. So you get to celebrate how Bill was a part of your life and impacted your world. We're going to give you opportunities to share some of those memories if you would like. And we are glad that you came here today to honor him and to be here with his family as we say goodbye, but as we also find those new ways that people knew him that we can also add to our own hearts and memories. So thank you for being here today. As we begin, I invite you to join with me in prayer. Into your holy presence, O God, we have gathered. Family, friends, all who loved Bill. Open us to your touch today as we celebrate, as we grieve, as we remember, and as Bill continues to live in each of us. For that we are grateful. And all God's people said, Amen. So the first thing we're going to invite you to do is to remember. Now, I know it is difficult sometimes to talk in front of people that you don't know or maybe you don't know well. But so we've got a few people who are ready to do that to kind of get things going. And then if others of you would like to share, you'll have that opportunity. Do you know who's going to go first?
I think
Jan. Okay, Jan's going to kick us off. Come on up.
My name is Jan Hansen, and this happens to be my home church, so I welcome all of you here. I've known Lee for over 45 years, and Bill for about 40. I first met Bill when I was taking management training classes from him about 38 years ago. I remember those exact dates because at that time I was about 8.5 months pregnant. And he promised me that if I went into labor during class, he would stop class and we'd go to the hospital. Luckily, that didn't happen. Bill taught me many valuable lessons and modeled how to be a servant leader. His belief was in walking around management and spending time and experiences with those that you worked with, not just supervised, but worked with. In fact, he didn't really like the word supervisor. He certainly did this in his own work, and I hope I followed his example in my career. We became close friends after he and Lee married, and my husband and I have fond memories of time spent with Lee and Bill. Favorite times at the beach, at Mentone, and sitting on the deck, and always Bill had a story, or many stories. He could entertain us for hours, telling colorful stories about his family, his friends, his work, Slippery Rock. He was the only person I ever knew who went to Slippery Rock, and his beloved Oakmont. In fact, when he found out my husband and I were going to the U.S. Open in Oakmont, he offered us his home, and we stayed there, and he got us transportation back and forth to the golf tournament, introduced us to several of his friends, and made our time there a really special, special vacation. This last year has been a really difficult one, with Bill's illness progressing, ongoing treatment, and many trips to the hospital. Watching Lee by his side and he by hers during this time reminded me of the special relationship and love that they shared. The last days of his life he was in hospice, and much of the time he was asleep. Lee shared with me that one night right before he died, she and Susan, his daughter, spent the evening playing his favorite music and reminiscing. They wondered if he heard them, but Lee said by the looks on his face and his responses, they knew that he did. I trust he hears us today as we celebrate his life. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Next.
I think his sweet little granddaughter. Do we want to do that, shall we? We're being very informal.
we'll wait, and someone else can go. And so this is open to any of you. So if you'd like to share a memory or a story, please come and do so.
I will.
All right.
I didn't actually write anything because I didn't think I could do it, but I did write one little piece. And Bill always spoke at many of our friends and colleagues and associates' funerals. He was asked to do that a good bit. And he also, anytime a loved one passed, he would write out what I now know, according to Jackie, who's here, is an acrostic. He would write that out using the first letter of the person's name. And he would send that in the mail to their loved one, the widower or widower. And it's something that he did so many times. So honoring him, I at least wanted to do that with his first name. So W, and this is of course my experience with Bill, but always warm and welcoming. He welcomed everyone into his classroom, and one of the most amazing things to me about Bill is he would teach a class whether there was one person there or 100 people there. He never canceled. He never missed work. It was just amazing to me. For I, intuitive and inquisitive, he was constantly interested in learning. Our house literally has, I think, thousands actually of books, many hundreds of books. He was always learning. He wanted to know everything there was about management and training, and he published like 90 different workshops that he taught from. He also was a follower of history and governmental affairs and politics, and we won't get into that here, but it caused a lot of excitement in our house and family this last couple of years. For L, he was loved by family and friends, and I think he was the kind of person that brought out the best in people. When he would do a workshop, people would come in with a heavy heart about something, and he would actually stay and spend an extra hour with that person talking about whatever was going on in their life, why they might be distracted, how they might be feeling. And he just took his time. He took his time for that. He was clearly the love of my life, and just so fortunate to have had him a part of my life. I, like Jan, took classes from him, ironically, in the early 80s, I believe it was, and did my graduate work, including taking some classes from Bill. And then our paths crossed later, and he did some professional work for me at Glenwood. And then many years later, we found each other personally and became really good friends first, and then have been together for about 17 years. So best 17 years of my life, the last one admittedly very hard. I said he loved learning. He was constantly learning, so that's the other L. I, for informed and interested. He just showed great interest in everybody and everything. And the hardest part, and Joe and Jan can appreciate this with me, but the hardest part of taking Bill somewhere is that I couldn't get him to quit talking. I loved him to death, but he was so interested in telling people stories and hearing their stories. So I never had to worry. I'm a kind of an introvert, and so was he in a different kind of way. But as long as I had Bill with me, I didn't really have to say very much, so that was good. For the A, accepting and supportive of the rights of all people. He believed in grace, he believed in love, and he believed in acceptance. And M, for motivated, probably the most motivated person I've ever known in my entire life. And like I say, he never missed a day of work that I'm aware of at all. And he also wrote a lot on motivation, taught a lot on motivation, and created a workshop and a booklet called Creating a Culture for Self-Motivation. So a very motivated individual. So I am so blessed to have had him a part of my life, and I can't ever say I'm pleased, because losing him and having him gone will be extremely hard. But he's not in pain, and I know for a fact he's at peace, and that to me is what's most important. Thank you.
All right, come on.
Do you want me to speak in English? try to do this. A little nervous. I don't think she is at all. She's just shy. That's okay. I wish you could. So I'm Shelly. I'm Bill's daughter, and this is one of my daughters, Vivian. And, we wrote something. Okay. I did not bring any tissues. Okay. My dad was a great public speaker. Me, not so much. Dad definitely loved to joke and tease people, so I think it's only fitting that we do so today. Here's a few things we can learn from Bill. The top 10 ways to be like Bill Garove. Number 10, you can never have too many dogs or cars. Dogs are great and cars are cool. Your neighbors will love you for it. Number 9, you should really be eating more donuts. If you can't finish them all, find someone who will. Donuts make people really happy. It's a fact. Number 8, watch more hockey games. Those guys don't get paid enough, and you've got to support your team. Number 7, always stop to eat at a truck stop or greasy diner when you're on a road trip. It's the perfect way to get back at your kids for ruining your trip. Number 6, be sure to make the best of each day and end a bad day with some ice cream. It may just turn it all around. Number 5, don't take yourself too seriously and don't brag. People really hate that. Number 4, send friends and family greeting cards filled with cash. It makes their day and it makes you look very good. Number 3, material things aren't important. People are important. No one cares if you have 55 shirts when you die. Number 2, don't worry, be happy, or just pretend to be for the sake of others. And the number 1 reason to be more like Bill, be a good person, so people will come to your funeral and say nice things about you. Want to play your song? Okay. Maybe later.
Thank you. Who else would like to say something? Go.
I don't really have anything prepared. I've just gone on in my brain of what I would say, but, there wasn't a room that my dad walked into that he didn't make a friend. Like Lee was saying, he could talk to everybody. He loved kids. He wasn't around a lot when we were young because he was traveling so much. So when the grandkids came around and the kids across the street were little, and Albert Canyon areas here, I mean, they just like went to him. I mean, and he would take them to the park and he would spend time with them and he would sit on Anna and make her cry. I mean, it was just, I'm like, where were you when I was a little kid? But by the time I became a teenager, we started getting into cars, so we started building a Camaro, and his original car is '68 Chevelle. So we kind of bonded in that way. Took me a long time because the doctor, the professor, the smartest guy I ever knew. How do I live up to that? But he always supported me in whatever I wanted to do. I became a landscaper. I remember I wasn't quite ready for college, so he told me, if you want to go to college, you can pay for it first to get started. Well, he was right. I went to college and I made the grades and he started to pay, but I kind of chose a different route. But he supported me in every way, and he supported all of his kids in every way. And, he was just that special guy. We had that bond of being from Pittsburgh. He was a Pirates fan, a Steelers fan, and number 1, a Penguins fan. And the night before that he passed away, the Penguins lost the game on Tuesday night to not make it to the Stanley Cup playoffs for the first time in 16 years. He passed away 5:30 Wednesday morning. I think that might be what I got. So, the memories that we have, oh gosh, the stories, he would take the boys to the lake when Lee had the lake place down at Mitchell. They both went with brand new pairs of shoes, and they came home with brown shoes from being in the lake. They sunk the boat. They lost the fishing rods. Nothing ever fazed him. We'll just get new ones. Took him in the creek up in Pennsylvania, the creek that he went in when he was a child, that, you know, deemed toxic at one time. Brings them back to the house, and kids are like, "We went up the 6th Street Creek." I'm like, "Dad, didn't they just have a toxic report on that?" Didn't faze him a bit, but he did. He had that little mischief of him, to see how far he could push to make me mad or make. Yeah, but he did. He loved all his grandkids. You know, until the day he died, he fought. He fought hard. He didn't want them. He wasn't ready to go. I mean, he could have gone, Lee knows, several months before, and he woke up every day and he battled all through the pain. And you know, my life's lessons from him were, he taught me to, if you want something, it's not going to be given to you. You have to work for it. You have to earn people's respect. You're not going to be just granted that respect. And treat people like you would like to be treated. So, I'll miss your dad every day, and most of us in this room will. So.
Thank you. Who else? Anyone? Well, to give us a moment to sit with our own personal memories and stories and thoughts about Bill, we have some special music. And we invite you to enjoy the pictures, and then we'll continue on with our service. When Lee and I were talking about having this opportunity for all of us to gather, one of the things that she really wanted was it not to be like other funerals. And luckily she came to the right place, because that's not the kind of way in which we typically do these kinds of services as well. And we talked about the kinds of qualities that she particularly found in Bill, and we came up with a scripture passage that we thought would be appropriate for this day. It's from Galatians in the 5th chapter, verse 22 and 23. It says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law." Lee told me that whenever she thinks about Bill, the thing that comes immediately to her mind, and perhaps to others of your mind, is kindness. That seemed to be the quality that defined Bill. And somehow in our culture we have gotten this idea that kindness is simply being nice. And it's very easy to be nice. But kindness is a bit more difficult. I know that some of you have probably had the experience of people to which it was hard to be kind, or the situation in which you found yourself might have been difficult to be kind. And the fact that Bill chose kindness in all those situations, that was his go-to context, says a lot about him, and also about the people that he gathered around him. All of you were a part of his circle. All of you were impacted by his life. And all of you continue to have those stories that maybe only you and Bill experienced, but when you tell others about it, then we each get a little bit bigger piece of it. And so that's one of the reasons why we have encouraged you to share your stories. The fun times, the hard times, the ironic times, the maybe embarrassing times, that also show that quality of Bill that so many of you have expressed was his heart. His ability to be kind in all those different ways that he lived his life, in his teaching, in his family, in his career, in his travels, in those that he included in his circle. I hope as we go from this place to celebrate his life with food and with drink and with toasts and with stories, that we'll find a way to continue to emulate that kindness in our world, including in places where it's not easy, including with people who are often not kind back. But when we live that quality, it defines us. And maybe it rubs off on some of those who need to experience it as well. So as we go from this place to that place, as we go from a time of reflection to a time of celebration, as we go from a time of worship to a time of sharing food and drink, let us pray as we go. Spirit of the living God, we are grateful for these moments to share together in our common loss and in our common celebration. As we close one chapter of our relationship with Bill, and as a new chapter has opened, may the grace that he lived rub onto our lives and inspire our ability to live grace. Thank you for the opportunity to have known him, to have loved him, and to have been loved by him. We offer our gratitude in all of the ways in which your presence is made known. And all God's people said, Amen. I want to remind you that following this service, that this service has been live streamed, and it is available on the Facebook website, Facebook page. I'm sorry, the Pilgrim Church Facebook page. You can go there and you can share it to other people that may not have been able to be here today, or you can download it to your own. It's there available. Yes, Lee.
I know some people may not be able to stay, so I wanted to go ahead and say this before we go out. When I asked Bill, of course, obviously toward the end, he still was able to communicate a little bit, and we talked about his passing and what he would like in terms of the service. He said, I would like a toast to me and for everyone to go have a good, happy life. And so that is going to be our toast to Bill about having a happy life. And the other thing that I wanted to say is he ended every workshop, or most workshops that I ever attended, with what he called a gift of happiness. And the gift of happiness was that after you participated in the workshop, each person had to write one thing positive about somebody else in the class and share it. So I think his final gift of happiness was to wish us happiness and to go forth and have a great life. So I hope you'll be here to toast, but I did want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is our benediction. We invite you to move to the other room and let's begin our toast.